Wholesaling 101. We're going to cover lists. I am Mike the wholesaler, Mike Watkins. I'll respond to either one, but we're going to be talking about lists, stacking the lists, putting motivations together, why motivation matters, and then I will also cover some skip tracing so you can target that people on that list. All right. So here is my contact. If you need it, I can go back to that later on. About me. So I am married to an amazing, beautiful, shy wife. I got 2 crazy kids. They just bought a possum and they're on their way home, so they might be loud. Hopefully that won't. Hopefully y'all will still be able to hear me. There's Noah and there's Lincoln. There they are again. I collect monopolies. I'm the wholesaling supergroup leader of the South Atlanta RIA. And I won Teacher of the Year in 2018. All right, so my event is called Wholesaling 101, and it is every other Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this month has been Facebook and social media marketing. So we've covered, I had Marcus Merritt, who runs a social media marketing company that you can hire on. We even got him to list some tips on how to engage people, how to market on social media, how to build yourself up as a brand, and all of that. I took notes. And then the next Friday, because there are 3 Fridays this month, we went over how to implement all of that stuff. So I actually showed you how to post on social media, how to post out and have it aggregate, I think is the word, to multiple different sites at once, and all of those notes. So those are in there as well that you can watch later on. And next Friday, the 30th, I have got a specialist on who's going to talk about Facebook ads, how to buy ads, how to get the ads to target people. Because you used to be able to upload a list, which is kind of what we're talking about here. You'd upload your list of sellers to Facebook, and then they would find those people and then show the ads directly to them. Now they don't do that. They do a lookalike audience, which is kind of lame. But he's going to show us how to target those people in Facebook to see if they've got motivations, they own a house, and they have some sort of like reason to sell, not just a person that has, tenants and they're paying every month, because those people don't want to sell. So he's going to be doing that next Friday at 7 p.m. and that's Wholesaling 101. And we're doing social media this month. All right, so you can text that to that number if you want to get a script. Yeah. All right, so lists. First, you got to talk about the buyers.
Go back to that. Go back to that screen real fast, because that's like way too fast. Okay, let me put this into let me put this into the chat for everybody. 678-439-5699. Okay, there you go. Text that. Okay, now you can go.
All right. I don't want any product placement. Okay. So the buyers. All right. Buyers is first before sellers. Okay. And the reason you need buyers is you need to know who's buying. You need to know what they're buying. You need to know how much they're buying them for and what kind of stuff they're buying. Okay. So the who's buying can just be done by skip tracing. You skip trace them, you find their number, you find their name. A buyer is determined by, they own this property, they paid cash for that property. I believe the realtor code for Georgia is like 404. So if you look that up, you can look up cash sales. So it wasn't done with a loan, it wasn't done with anything special, it was just cash. So they bought it cash. And the taxes for that property go somewhere else. So it's not paying cash for the home they live in, it's paying cash for this home, but they live over here. Okay, so that is a cash buyer. All right, so we can find out who they are, where they where they reside at, and we can send that person a letter, or we can text them or call them. For cash buyers, I have seen that websites, emails, and texting is the way that they want to be contacted and contact. So, what are they buying? Where are they buying? And how much are they buying them for? Okay, so where are they buying? We want to look up buyers first before we look up sellers, because you don't want to get a property and then think like, oh man, uh, is anybody going to buy this? Is it in an area where it's good, right? You don't want to get a property in some random area and then be like, look up the ARV, how much you're going to offer, make the offer, and then find out that like, nobody's really going to want a property that is like that in that area. Okay. So find out where they're buying, and we can pull that list, and we can see in the list when we pull it where the zip codes are that get the most houses in it. Okay, so we can see where they're buying, we can see all the zip codes, and zip codes is just the easy way to break it down. Um, or you could do city, but I would do zip codes because a lot of the times, sometimes zip codes are somewhat smaller than cities, so you get more of an idea of where they're buying. Although sometimes the zip codes will go into different cities. Like there's a city here, and there's three different, well, zip codes that enter that one city. So you could be in that city, but three different zip codes. So find out where they're buying, where the most is, where like the biggest chunks are. You can do this by taking your list and putting it into Google My Maps. So you can upload it to Google My Maps. You can see little blips of where your properties are. And then, of course, you can then separate that by zip code. And so you can go in and color code the different zip codes to different stuff and see where the thicker parts are, where they've got more properties in one area that were bought by cash buyers. Okay. And then you want to see how much they're buying them for, because if they're buying them for 50,000, 40,000, there's not going to be, enough meat on the bone for you to do it. The wholesaling is at its core is just you getting a property under contract, you then flipping that contract and selling the rights to purchase the property, because you don't own the property, you haven't bought it, you don't own it, you can't sell that. You sell that contract to with an assignment to a cash buyer. So you need to see how much they're buying it for, and that's the process right there. Just two signatures on two different documents. So you could flip a $50,000 house with two signatures, or you could flip a $500,000 house with two signatures. So it's the same amount of work. Why not do it in an area where you're going to get more money? So see how much they're paying, and make that usually looking for a high number there, but you want it to at least be 100, 200,000. Okay, so that you can, there's enough meat on the bone to where you can get it for lower and then sell it for higher. Okay. And then you also want to make sure that when they're, because you can see in the list, if you pull it large enough, you can see when they bought it the first time, and then when they sold it the second time, if they turned around and sold it. Now, if they kept it as a rental, you're not going to see that second sale. But if you see two sales, you can see how much profit they made on it, and you can see if that's worth it. If you see a bunch of people like hedge funds will have, you know, 10, 20,000 as their profit if they turn around and sell it, but mostly hedge funds are renting the properties out. So you don't see that a whole lot. But there will be some discrepancies, like some people will sell it for less, some people will sell it for more. But for the most part, you can see how much their profit they're making, and you want a high profit margin area, right? Because you want the buyers to be prosperous, flipping houses, making money. Because if they're making money, they're going to come back to you month after month, deal after deal, and keep buying from you. And that's what you want. You don't want like a one-time buyer where you just get 50,000 and then you never see them again. You want a $10,000 dollar deal every 2 months, because I would take that over one time 50,000. All right, you're going to make way more money. They're going to make way more money, and it's just good for everybody. And then you want to find out what they're buying. So if you're in an area where it's all 2 1s and they're buying 2 1s, and then they are, or if they're buying in an area and you see nobody's buying 3 bedroom, 2 bath, but you see they're buying 2 bed, 1 bath in that same neighborhood, but they are, when they turn around and they sell it, they are selling it as a 3 2. That lets you know you need to market to those 2 bedroom, 1 baths because they're taking those houses, adding another bedroom, adding another bathroom, adding to that square feet, and then turning around and selling. Okay. If everybody in the area is buying 2 bedroom, 1 bath houses, and you find a 3 bed, 2 bath in that neighborhood, the only thing that's sold that you have to compare that to is a 2 1. So you have to price that property as a 2 1. The seller will always say, well, it's the best house in the neighborhood. It's the best. Yeah, it could be, but there's no other good similar houses to comp it because, as you know, a comp is a similar property that's sold within the last 3 months within the same neighborhood. Well, if you're in the same neighborhood, you could go back a year, but within half a mile, go back 3 months. That is a comp. All right. And uh, taking that 3 2, like you're never going to be able to sell that if the whole neighborhood is full of 2 1s. So you have to comp it as a 2 1, meaning the seller's going to have a lot of motivation to come down. You want the worst house in the neighborhood to bring it up to what all the other houses are, because if your house is better, those other houses aren't going to be able to come up. And like Snoop Dogg says, you can't go down, right? When you get famous, people have to come up to you. You got to have that property and come up to what all the other properties are. Okay, so that's where they're buying, how much they're buying them for, and what they are buying. Okay, also, if they're buying houses with pools or other things, or if they're buying the house and they're popping the top where they remove the roof and add another story, if they're buying in historical areas, um, any strange thing, if they're buying townhomes, or if they're buying single family properties and then turning them into multi-unit or duplexes or triplexes or quadplexes. I had a property where the guy had a duplex and they owned both sides, but they put a door between it. So all I had to do was just wall that door in and it's a duplex again. Okay. So if they're doing stuff like that or just anything, put your ear to the ground, uh, let everybody know, that you're the kingpin, you've got an eye on everything that's moving and shaking. You are the person in your friend group, and they will come to you and they will tell you these things that they're noticing, like, hey, they took a shopping center and built a church, or anything like that that's being converted, right? And you'll notice, like, there's an area in Atlanta here where called Moreland Avenue, and you can sort of see the line. And so if you can get any of these houses further in the line, because every month the line moves, they're buying these brick 2 bedroom, 1 bath houses, and then they're turning them into these millennial concrete things with glass, and they're like cubes from the Flintstone movie. So if you notice that, hey, up the road, why don't I get one of these? See if I can get these properties under contract because they're turning them into that. Or if there's a neighborhood up the road, right? So see not only what they're buying, but what they're doing with the properties. All right, so the list. There, oh, I moved my, let me get this. There we go, okay. All right, so the list, motivation. All right, what motivates these people? What motivation do they have to sell? And what makes the person want to get rid of this property? I've seen so many times where I've had a deal from another wholesaler, and we've tried to co-wholesale this deal, and I get it, and I'm like, all right, it's good, it's great. And then I found out it's a little too high, and I tell them, well, hey, we need to see if they can come down. And the person will say, well, I had to fight tooth and nail to get them down to that price. And I'm like, well, we need it lower than that. And they were like, well, it was a realtor that was going to list it, but I convinced them not to. And I'm thinking like, oh, if it's a realtor, they're not motivated. Like if they own a property, what is stopping this realtor from just listing it and selling it? Like they know all that whole process. So if they have some, if they're a realtor or they're an investor, I mean, sometimes you can buy it from them, but when you're pulling a list, I would not pull a list of uh, properties that are on the MLS or where the seller thinks they're about putting them on the MLS. You know, you want motivation like owning multiple houses. Their back taxes are racking up. They've got bad tenants. They're in foreclosure. You know, they're going through a divorce or they have code violations. You need a real reason. When I have people call in, they say, well, we got your postcard, just want to see what you'd offer. That is not motivation to sell. Motivation is, I've got 3 properties. I'm out of state. I can't manage them all. I'm getting deployed somewhere else. I won't be able to handle them. I need to get rid of them. That kind of thing. Or I've got deadbeat tenants. They're not paying, or they are taking me to court. Or the back taxes is a good one because they usually, and foreclosures. So with both of those, they generally have about a month to catch those up, stop the foreclosure, pay the back taxes, or they will go to a sale where they will be sold for the amount of the back taxes or for what is owed on the foreclosure. So those are really good, but you got to be quick. Bad tenants is sort of a weird one because how do you determine if tenants are bad? Um, so the way that I do this is you can get and it's a hard list to pull, but the only way I've seen to do it is to take yourself onto Craigslist, and they'll have advertisements for, or you can do this on Facebook if you join groups that do yard sales, and you see where these yard sales are, and you see if the person owns the property, and if the person's name doesn't match up, and or the last name or whatever, or if it's absentee owner of that property, then chances are that that's a landlord that owns the property. And 9 times out of 10, when a property has a yard sale and they're selling a lot of stuff and their tenants, usually what they're doing is they're planning on moving out. And sometimes they've told the landlord, sometimes they haven't. But this is a good list to pull because it's hard. And the harder this list is to get, the harder it is for you to get your hands on these things, the better that list is, because the easier it is for you means that it's easier for other people. So you can have somebody, probably a VA, do this for you, but you can take that list, find out where the owner is, and then start marketing to them. You can also market to the tenants and ask them, hey, um, you know, uh, go to the uh, yard sale and take a look at it, and mention, oh, this is a nice house, and sort of get a leg up on, if they're deciding to move somewhere else, and without like letting them know that you've done all this backup research. But you want to be good with the tenants, and a lot of the time you will get to the landlord and they've moved out, and the landlord's just like, no, I've got paying tenants in there, and you can ask, well, it's the second, have they paid? No. Okay, well, why don't you check on that, make sure they've paid, and then they'll come back to you and say, they've moved out. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then you step in and you help them. And, well, hey, they've moved out. We can make you an offer. Uh, Especially with my company, we've moved into helping people. So then you can sort of be that advisor like Jafar from Aladdin and help them through that process. Find them tenants. You can buy it and do all of that. Now, for divorce is a list that you're going to need to get from a list broker. I would say an attorney like Deanna Britt, and pull that list from there. Make sure it's somebody reputable. You pull that list from somebody that's reputable, and you get a list of, because they've got to sell that property during the divorce because it's the two people split. They've got to sell that property and replace it with cash because cash can easily be split between the two parties. Okay. And then code violations. Code violations are a good one, and they're sort of different from back taxes because code violations will build up. I think there's usually a certain amount before they will go to a sale, or sometimes it'll be a demolition. I had to tell a guy, he's like, "Hey, you got this duplex, sell it to me," and he just would not come down on his price. He was a slumlord. There was black mold in the house. I get into the property, and the tenant is just, people are walking in, and the tenant is just on the couch handing people cigarettes for $1. And I had to leave because there was black mold in the kitchen. I don't know how they were eating, and it had a sign on the other unit that said, "Hey, it was going to be torn down on this date." And I kept telling the guy, I was like, "Hey, they're going to tear it down on this date. Like, this price is too much." Trying to get it through his head, and he just kept saying, "No, no, 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 no." And a month later, he's like, "Yeah, I've got this lot," and I was like, "Mm-hmm. Obviously, I can't do anything with a lot now. I tried to get you to sell it to me, and you wouldn't do it. And now you've got a lot where it costs more to build the house than the house and the lot are worth. So he's just stuck with a lot now." Um, just could not get it through to him that I was trying to help him. He would not believe that it was going to be torn down. So code violations are sort of a weird one. There may or may not be high motivation, but the trick is when you start stacking these, because if somebody owns multiple properties and they've got back taxes on them, they've got tenants that are bad not paying, right? So you've got, maybe, let's say there is multiple houses. Let's say that's 500 people in this city that own multiple houses that aren't the house they live in. And then let's say off of that list, when you stack on their back taxes, let's say like 100 of those people also have back taxes, right? They now have back taxes on multiple houses. Then let's stack in their bad tenants, which is going to be a hard one to pull. Uh, but let's stack that one on there. So now, out of those ones that have back taxes, how many of those have tenants that aren't paying, or just being problematic, right? So then that would probably take it down to 50. But those are 50 properties where they have multiple houses that they owe back taxes on that have bad tenants. Okay. So that is the importance of stacking, and also vacant, which I for some reason didn't put on here, but I guess that would be included in multiple houses. So you own the house you live in, the other house is vacant. So if you stack all of these on there, you get a better list. Now you may stack all of these or everything you got onto a list, and you may have like two people, including out of state could be one that you look up. So you could put all of these motivations on there, and you'd have like two people. Now you could have a big list and pay for a bunch of marketing, text campaigns, mail campaigns. Um, you could even find their IP address and have Google ads show up when they search based on their IP address. Just they're just constantly seeing you. So they're getting you in the mail, they're getting you on their phone, they're getting calls, they're getting ads online, they're getting all that stuff. But if you do that to a big list, you could get some of those people too, and you'll get those two people that are on everything. But if you just get those first two people and you go right to them with all that targeted stuff, you'll get to them quicker. Because instead of doing to that whole list and then hoping that they contact you, you could do things like knock on the door. You could send them a flat rate shipping box for like $5. You probably send them a big box if it's just two people. And if they're on all of these, and you could just say, "Hey, let me help you with that property you got. Do you need help with your house? I think you're the owner of this house over here. Um, I'd like to buy it from you, help you out. If you don't want to sell it to me, fine. I can offer you funding, all of that stuff, right? Like if you could pay $50 to send marketing to two people who have all of these code violations or these uh, motivations on their property, would you do it, right? Because if you had the opportunity to make 50,000, how much is that 50,000 worth to you? Is the way you should be thinking about it. So if that's worth it, then send them a flat rate shipping box. Send them a bouquet of flowers. Send them, whatever, right? Order them some, Chipotle and say, hey, if you ever need to sell the house over here, 123 Main Street, let me know, right? Because if they've got all of this on there and it's in an area that's worth 50,000 or 500,000, you'll go for it. All right, so let me. Do I see where is my? Oh, I don't have my menu anymore. Oh wait, let me leave. I don't know where my Zoom thing is. Oh, there's my bar. Okay. All right. So let me do questions in a second, and then I'm gonna quickly go over to. I don't think I have time to pull a list, so I will. Let's go here. Okay. All right, so they let you move the bar. Okay, so here I pulled a list in Atlanta. And so here's how I pull my list. I go in here and I typed in Atlanta dyslexia. All right, so Atlanta. And I select Atlanta. I can select like a street or a zip code, but I'm going to do Atlanta. And you see over here, it's going to pull it up. And this is batch driven, by the way. I might have an affiliate link somewhere, but you can just go to batchdriven.com. And you can see I typed in here absentee owner, residential, not on market, so it's not listed. Okay. If try not to market to properties if they're listed on the MLS, because you've got all these other people looking at it too. All right. Year built, we want nothing built after 2001, because chances are if it's freshly built, they're going to want a lot for it. And then equity, I would say if this is your first deal, go for 75 to 100. And then you can see down here, you can click on certain stuff, unknown equity. All right. So unknown equity before 1985, if they bought it, it'll be on there too. But if they bought before 1985 and they haven't sold or anything like that, chances are it's paid off anyway, right? You could do more equity, like 0 to whatever, if you're able to do those kinds of deals where it's sandwich lease options or foreclosures or negative equity and take over the property and refinance. Go for that. But so I can pull a list of all of these things and put them on there. And then let's see if I can pull up. Let's see. Does anybody have a? Let me go to the chat. Where are y'all at? Is anybody in?
What do you need?
Or give me a zip code.
30143.
30143.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, just while you're doing that, we have a couple questions. Batch stream or batch driven?
Batch driven.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Is it not giving me a list?
Okay, and let's see. Where are code violation lists found?
Okay, so code violation lists, you will get those from the county. So if you've ever seen the show Dexter, I would show up just like him with a bunch of donuts and be buddy with the people at the courthouse. You should be doing this anyway, and see if they can print you a list, which costs money, which is fine. But sort of if they're buddies with you, they could just email you the list of code violations. You can also get them from an attorney, like Deanna Britt does this with Law Clerk on Demand, but I believe that's just in Georgia. But you may have a person like that wherever you're at if you're in a different state, and but you go down to the courthouse to pull that list, and it's just better if they email it to you.
Okay, and then also one more question. What are you using to stack your lists?
So all of these
Okay, so you're
pre-foreclosure,
gonna get into
vacant.
that right now then.
Yeah, I'm actually going to show that right now.
Okay,
So I pulled
cool.
in McAfee, that place. I've got unknown equity. I'm going to do this. All right, so I'm going to save this to a new folder. New folder there. So I'm going to save those properties. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to the folder type that I just got, which is new folder 1, and apply. So all these properties are there. Menifee, California. All right, so here's a property, and I'm gonna skip trace it. See if we can find it. Okay, so we got some phone numbers here, and you can see, and an email. I'm in dark mode, so it kind of changes things. And that's how you skip trace. You can also skip trace in batch, I believe, batchskiptracing.com, and I believe batch leads. I want to say it's .io, but that's how you're going to skip trace your list. And if you have another skip tracing service, you can, use them as well. Okay. So here is the list that I have. Now this is from Atlanta, so I've already pulled this. I've already exported it and imported it in here, and you can see that these are all absentee owner. All of these lists, these are vacant property. So they're not only absentee owner, the property is vacant. These are ones that paid cash. And then we've got tired landlord, back taxes, and then some that are on all three. Okay. So let's take buyers. And I'm going to categorize, let's see, where do we have? Zip code, the property zip code. So I'm going to do this A to Z. And you can see we've got, like 4 in this zip code. Let's see which one has the most. 49, 42. And of course, again, you can usually pay somebody. I think it is this 49. I saw that a lot. So if anybody has any other suggestions, let me know too. All right, so 49.
Somebody's asking, can you give us the filters you used?
The filters. Okay, so you mean these over here to filter the list?
I guess.
Okay, so it's residential, so it's not commercial, right? We don't want like office buildings or gas stations. And then we don't want people that live in the property, right? Because if you live in the property, you are going to either want a step up. Nobody ever wants like to move into the same property. If they're going to move out of their house, they're not going to move into a similar or a lower value property. So if it's absentee owner, they'd be willing to do that of the house because it's not necessary to them living in it. So they're willing to take a discount on it. All right. And then we want not on the market. I like to do 1900 to 2001. And then for equity, I do 75 to 100%. And you could also add in here, if your list does it, length of ownership, which is probably what Tired Landlords is. They've owned it for a while. I would say at least owned it for 5 years. You don't want somebody who's owned it less than that because a lot of hedge funds will buy a property and just sit on it, and they'll wait like 3 or 4 years to send a crew and fix it up because they're only making, looking to make like 5%. But that is what I would do. And then for stacking, I would just stack as many as you can until you get down to like, the least amount. Like if you stack everything on there and there's none that are on all lists, start removing stuff until you get to like 3 or 4 people, and then just super target those people. Okay. So now, first we've looked at cash buyers, and we've got a bunch here in 30349. Okay, so this is a really good. So I'm gonna take these off, or no, I'm gonna copy them, and I'm gonna take this list and I'm gonna put it on all three. All right, and then I'm gonna go back. Oh, okay. I don't care. All right. Copy the top bar, and I'm going to put that back right there. Boom. Okay. All right. So these are the cash buyers, and these are what we want. So, okay, something didn't. All right. Anyway, so 30349. Okay. So that's where we want to target. We want to look at some stuff. So let's get vacant properties in 30349. 303, and we scroll all the way to the bottom. Wow, that's a lot. Oh my gosh. All right. 30349. Okay. And it doesn't cost anything in batch driven to pull the list. The only thing they charge you for is, look at that. All right. The only thing they charge you for is skip tracing and, of course, marketing to the list. Pulling the actual lead is free. So 30349, right? Let's go here and 30349. Okay, I don't know what that hiccup was earlier. All right. So I got these. That was vacant. Let's do tired landlords. All right. And again, we go to the zip and we put it in, and we go scroll down to 30349. So we grab this one and we go down until we get it. And there's a lot on here too. That's so good. All right. I'm glad it wasn't, because I didn't pre-plan which one I was going to go for. So I'm glad it all worked out. Okay. And then we come back here and we paste. All right. And then we got back taxes. So we categorize this one A to Z. All right. And I don't know if how savvy you are with a spreadsheet, but it may be possible for you to hire somebody else to do this, or you could just do this yourself. But you may be able to have a spreadsheet. I think it's I forget what it's called, but there may be a thing that you can have where you can just click a button in the spreadsheet or in numbers, or what, I don't know what the Microsoft one is called, but you could have that where it will just determine what is on each list for you. And then you can just click a button and have it happen like that instead of having to manually do it. So there's a lot on here too. What is this one? Back taxes. All right. Yeah. There we go. So let's go back up. Oh. It's a lightning bug. All right. My wife breeds geckos, and so sometimes bugs get in because of the heating in the room and the windows open to the outside. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we've got all that on there. All right. Now let's see. We will go to the owner first. So let's go down to A to Z. All right. Magikarp LLC. Okay. Um, I would probably remove LLCs, like especially this IH borrower. They're such a big company, they're not even gonna talk to you. But you can see who on here owns multiple properties. Atlanta Investments, Bet LLC, all this kind of stuff. Dumbaya family. All right. But what we want to know is which properties are on here the same. So here is how I do it. And this column is adding in the street, city, state, zip for you if you need that. But look, we got a lot on Pine Tree Trail. And so far, I haven't seen any that are on the same, they've got the same number. Man, so similar. All right. So you can come through here and find any. Let's see if I can find some that are the same. Similar. And I wonder if any are going to be. Oh my gosh. See, look at this. None of them so far. None. All right, come on. Just give me one that's like at least on 2 lists. Anywhere in here, and then we can determine which list they're on. But anyway, all right. So you can come through here and see which are on multiple lists. Of course not. Okay. So I'm gonna move this over here. Now here's one you could do called list source. Okay. So in list source, we're gonna go to, you can make an account if you want, and you can go to build a list. And of course, so you buy this list from them. And so geography, yeah, we'll come in here and list out where it is. And we want to do area code. And the state we want is Georgia. Oh, what am I thinking? Area code. Zip code. All right. Georgia. And then we want 30349. All right. So we'll add that one. And of course, you can add multiple ones if you want, but that's the zip code. We can see right now there's 21,000 on that. Okay. So we can do all mortgages. Let's see if they are loan type, loan to value. Let's do loan to value. And so I will put in, I will select all of these and go add. So now that brings it down to 6,000. So that's 6,000 people that are own a property in the zip code and have that loan to value. And their mailing address is complete, and it automatically excludes corporate people. And then I think over here is where you do absentee owned. So now that brings it down to 267. We don't want trustee, and we excluded corporate, mailing address is complete. Okay, so 260. All right. So now we go to the property. Now let's see in that list if we can find out. Does it give me property info like bed, bath. No, it doesn't. Okay. All right. Well, that doesn't matter. All right. So criteria, we can come in here and put in stuff about the property. We can put in year built. Let's say 2001. And add. All right. So that's going to bring it down. And we can select another one. Number of units. So we could select, oh, if we want ones with 2 units. So let's see what this does. We could do 2 to 4 units. None. Okay. Search for properties with multiple units by answering the desired range. Okay, let's do 4. Okay, that's how you do it. All right. So 46 properties are absentee owned in that zip code, have 71 to over equity, which is crazy. They are 1 to 4 units. They were built before 2001, and they're not corporate or trustee owned. And then let's see, pre-foreclosure.
There's a question, why do you not want trustee?
Because half the time a trustee has the name of the Wilson Family Trust, and so you can easily just look up Wilson who would own that property. But if they don't, the person who puts the thing in a trust or an LLC or into a company name is usually somebody that is real estate savvy. But I assume that if they're on each of these other lists, that might not matter so much. So let me go and put that in now. Let's see how that changes it. But I just don't like dealing with trustees. I do know some people that will only do trustee property. All right, so let me go back to number of units and remove. And I mean, you can do an extra amount of legwork for trustee and LLCs by just looking up who the registered, I think it's called agent of that trustee or that LLC is, and then look that person up and skip trace them. So it's just a little bit of extra work. All right, so now let's go back to pre-foreclosure. None of those people are on pre-foreclosure. Okay. Let's see. Oh, probably because they have good equity. Wow. Length of, do you have length of ownership? Is that what that means? Residence? So we can go to this. And
I mean,
add that.
essentially what Mike is showing you is like how to create a list. You could pick
Yeah,
any parameters that you want, really, whatever parameters that you want. And
that's
this is just like his thought process on how he's picking his lists on where he wants to be marketing to,
ooh.
which is very, very insightful, right? So you're creating the list of exactly who you want to market to. And list marketing is really just a strategy. That's what it is.
So you could do occupation here and see, exclude occupations that would make a lot of money, you know, and let's see if there's any of this. Pending auction sale. Anyway, so I've narrowed it down to 95, and these people have owned it for 4 or more years. All of this stuff I've stacked on here to get this list pretty low. You could even get this list low enough to where you could just upload all of where the owner information is into Google Drive, and you could just knock on their door, or you could just mail them a letter yourself. But so you can stack all of these lists and even find a program that can stack them for you. but yeah, and then so I've got homework for you. All right. I want you to pull a list. Um, I forgot to put it on here, but try to stack at least, oh no, I did, two or more motivations onto that list and then mark it to that list. Okay. And then don't forget about Wholesaling 101, where we're going to have a guy talk about getting ads on Facebook to target motivated sellers next Friday, the 30th at 7 p.m. All right. And let me see if there's any more
Yeah,
questions.
we'll get
Okay.
yeah, put your questions. If you have any questions for Mike, put them into the chat. And you know, this is really honestly, this is wholesaling strategy. This is how do you wholesale, right? And what I love about REI USA is that like you're going to really learn how to do stuff like this. It's not just a high level what is wholesaling 101. I mean, this is actually a strategy that you'll be able to implement. And that's what all the teachers do is they're giving you specific strategies that they use within their business in order to do the things that they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I love, that's what I love about Mike, is that he's really just shows people exactly how he's running his business and what he's doing and setting things up. Does anybody have any questions, wholesaling questions for Mike on either this, the list building, or the wholesaling? Okay, just put it into the chat. And then also I saw a couple questions about is this recorded? Yes, this is recorded. All of our trainings for REI USA are always in the members portal under training replays. And I'll show you that after Scott comes on and talks. Scott's coming on next. He's going to talk about notes, but I'll show you where these are going to be in the members portal. Okay. All right, cool. Okay, good. Any final thoughts? Anything else, Mike? It looks like nobody's giving you any questions.
Somebody said tired landlords 30349 vacant and liens question mark. And so I'm not sure if I can look up vacant inside of list source or liens. But if you could somehow pull that list and then check those two, um, yeah, but I don't see it so far. It might be in here somewhere, but I can't see it.
What about skip tracing? Ron says I
Oh,
miss skip tracing.
so skip tracing is I would use batch skip tracing.com. I did use, oh, I'm going to panelists. Okay, I did use some others. Oh, I think there's one that is, if you're a member of, you get a discount, part of the RIA. Man, this is my life right here. Animals, geckos. Yeah.
Yes.
um, so yeah, I would use that. PropStream is really good. PropStream even has a like an update farm feature, which is nothing else does. So if new stuff props up on that list, it will add it to the list and will tell you what's been added. So if you put a farm area like your area where you're at of stuff, it'll pop up on there. They do skip tracing buyers, all of that. The only one I would not suggest using is, and I hate to say it, but I think it's Skip, REI Skip, or Skip REI. It's the one by Max Maxwell. And I've pulled it multiple times, and like none of them went to the actual person, like not a single one. And it was just such a, I don't know if he's changed it since then, but there's Skip Wizard. There's even one that will skip trace their IP address, and it'll tell you like, and then there was one, if I can remember what it was, it would skip trace like when the last time their phone number was used, um, which I can't think of it, but yeah, you may be able to just Google search um, skip tracing last time it was used. Man, what is that? I'm gonna find out what that is. But yeah, uh, just skip trace them however you can and just market to them. And figure out, don't worry about getting the best skip tracing service or doing all the crazy stuff like finding out their IP address and all that other stuff. Just skip trace them, call them, text them, get to the seller. Because if you do all of that stuff, you're going to get there better and quicker, and you're going to get the deal as opposed to the person that's just going to, wait until they get that good skip tracing service. They're going to do all this research. And by the time you actually work up the courage to contact the seller, they've already sold it to somebody else. Yeah, so they just put the all of the partners and the discounts link into the chat. So I would definitely do that. Get the discount and skip trace it.